ピアスさん。
はい。
の、もし、ノートじゃなかったら、何だと思いますか？
At every stage of learning a language, there's a secure core of things that students can say easily. Around this core, there is a zone of new and less familiar, less well practiced words and structures. Learning a language is about expanding and consolidating the content of this second zone. In this episode, you'll see how the teacher helped Piers and Lawrence to encounter unknown aspects of Japanese and gradually make them familiar.
We wanted to talk about the things on the bedside table. Piers thought that perhaps there was a magazine there, so I asked.
ようこさん。
はい。
マガジンは日本語で何ですか？
はい。マガジンは日本語で、
ザ、
1、2、3。
し、
雑誌。
雑誌
うん、
雑
雑
誌、
誌。
雑誌。
As usual, Yoko gave us the word and its melody by pointing and by gesture, and we immediately used it in sentences like these.
それは雑誌かもしれません。
そう。OK。
雑誌の上にノートが置いてあると思います。
We were using familiar structures plus one of the new ones from last week, and we seemed quite confident with these, so Yoko decided it was time to push us on.
じゃあ、バージョンアップはね、雑誌。
雑誌の上にあるもの、あるもの、あるものは、ノートです。ノートだ、ノートだと思います。
うん。
雑誌の上にあるものは、ノートだと思います。
じゃあ、but we skip this.
Okay. So, あるの、あるのだと思います。Okay, so,
ある。
ある、ある、あるのは、あるのは、of course, yes, okay. So, 雑誌の上にあるのは、ノートだと思います。
雑誌の、このメロディーはどんな感じですか？
雑誌の上に、雑誌の上に。
This new use of no was a surprise, and even though on its own it seemed to fit quite comfortably into my Japanese mental representation, a fairly elaborate sentence like this was still a challenge. As Piers said at the time,
はい。英語の I need to sit down は日本語でどう言いますか？
はい。You need to sit down. Why do you need to sit down?
Because my sentence was so complicated.
そういうことだ。
this is why we need to practice. Practice automatizes things and thus frees up mental bandwidth.
雑誌の上に置いてあるのは何だと思いますか？
The conversation continued, revealing that we both had different opinions about what might be in the picture. Piers summed it up as follows.
ローレンさんはノートだと思っています。私は鉛筆がないからノートじゃないと思います。
The way of working shown in these lessons avoids overloading our mental capacities at each stage, but the small steps build and build and build. And very little work is wasted because everything is properly practiced and integrated before we move on. This means we always have a secure base for the next new thing. In this case, Piers' last sentence led me to this.
もしノートじゃなかったら
はい。
何ですか？
これがいいかな、やっぱり。
OK、なんだと、なんだと、なんだと思いますか？
そうですね。じゃあ、さしてください。
Yes, please. OK、so、もし、ノートじゃなかったら、なんだと、where's the だと、OK, yeah, だと思いますか？もしノートじゃなかったら何だと思いますか？もしノート、もしノートじゃなかったら何だと思いますか？
はい。
ピアスさん。もしノートじゃなかったら何だと思いますか？
We'd met most of this language before, and I just accepted the new intricate structure that Yoko showed me, janakattara, in the middle of the sentence, even though it sounded a bit like a past tense form. There was more than enough to do just saying the sentence properly, without pursuing fruitless why questions. Pointing on the word charts helped a lot. It slowed me down and forced me to be precise. When you point, there can be no fudging of words or endings. And what's more, because the sentence was never written down, I wasn't just reading it, I had to recreate it every time, all of which put me in a great starting place to consolidate through sleep and future practice what I'd learnt. In any case, here's Piers' answer to my question.
多分、漫画でしょ？
でしょうはクエスチョンだからだね。
漫画でしょ？多分漫画でしょ？
ちょっと待って、漫画はこれね。
漫画
多分漫画でしょう？
そう。漫画で、ちょっと待って。漫画、
漫画でしょう。
そう。
多分漫画でしょう。
そう。
We can't achieve perfection in pronunciation straight away, especially when we're also working on everything else. So it's inevitable that Piers and I made pronunciation and melody mistakes. But our teacher made sure we sounded as good as she judged we could manage at each moment, and, by giving us feedback, made sure that lesson by lesson we were improving.
As you've seen in this episode, Yoko wasn't training Piers and Lawrence to talk about this particular image, nor bedrooms in general. Rather, she was letting them express whatever ideas came to them, sparked by the image, a much more general and much more useful set of skills. In the next episode, you'll see them taking this process further.